and welcome to another episode of Tech Hour. I am your host, Simone Smith Bean, and today I have with me another amazing guest. Last week we were talking about International Women's Week, and it was all about international women who are founders. And today, guess what, guys? We have an international woman who is a founder. So I want to welcome to the stage Dr. Jillian Bethel. She's a longtime champion of Bahamian digital asset community. Her blockchain-related education and entrepreneur initiatives have contributed to the progress of Bahamian digital asset space, while increasing knowledge, share, and capacity growth among her peers. Jillian has held executive positions at multinational digital asset firms and continues her work to move needle toward the Bahamas being the jurisdiction frontrunner in the industry. Jillian is the co-founder of Crypto Isle, a venture that aims to drive digital transformation and make the benefits of digital assets and innovation accessible through education, knowledge share, and continued capacity building. I want to welcome to the stage Dr. Jillian Bethel. Hi, Jillian.
Hey, Simone. Thanks for having me on your show.
I'm so glad that you can join us today. Um, I wanted to first just welcome you and hope that you're having an amazing week so far. I know sometimes life gets lifing.
Oh, it does. It does. But, we never complain. And it's been a brilliant week so far. Thank you.
That's awesome. So this has been an amazing opportunity for us to really delve deep into women and celebrating International Women's Month this month and International Women's Day the other day. And I had an opportunity to visit Crypto Isle during an event where you were also on a panel. So tell us more about what's happening at Crypto Isle and how you came to establish such an amazing space for digital assets.
Sure. Yeah. So once again, thanks for having me on Tech Hour. Um, and thanks for the work that you do in the digital asset space as well. And finance and all the wonderful things that you do. Crypto Isle. Um, Crypto Isle came about from, I think, some of our own entrepreneurial pain points and realizing that the impact that we being me and my co-founder, Davinia Bain, also a wonderful female entrepreneur, um, some of the pain points that we found in our other businesses, we realized that if we really wanted to have an impact in the Bahamas, in the space, in tech, in entrepreneurship, that we needed to culture the people to, to be our audience, which is very, very counterintuitive in business. You find a pain point that already exists, and then you go ahead and you try to find a solution for those pain points that can make a profit, right? And so we built a business, and that was IslandBit. IslandBit did very, very well for the short time that it existed, and regulatory threats are always there. But for the short time that it existed, IslandBit did very, very well. But I think there were numerous times that I was literally curled up and sitting in a corner trying to explain to our clients what was really happening with their digital assets. And we realized that there was a baseline of understanding that people did not have. So IslandBit was a crypto ATM company, and people this was launched April 2020. So right after all the lockdowns. It's wild. Like, looking back, it's very wild that we started it, but honestly, it was a no-brainer. We had done a lot of research, surveys all over the place, and decided to launch the ATM company. And we were doing those surveys from late 2021, and we were really, really targeting the tourist market. And everything shut down, and we already had everything set up for April. And so we decided to launch anyway. And it was amazing to see how many Bahamians, which was not really a part of our target market or a main part of it. We wanted to see where that would go. It was amazing to see how many Bahamians were already buying digital assets. And, like I said, the company did really well, but we realized that education in the digital asset space or among Bahamians and just general finance things, general business things, and understanding like where their placement was in business as clients and what a business really looks like, and how to identify fraudulent things and sketchy things in the finance or digital asset or whatever space. We realized that education was a big pain point. And so we started CryptoWhile with that mindset. And we also started CryptoWhile to deal with some of our own pain points. We were renting an office. The office didn't have a lot of amenities. We're always grateful to the people who rented us an office, but it didn't have a lot of amenities. And we wanted to create this space where our clients could come in because they were coming in anyway. I mean, we have a crypto ATM company, and it's unheard of for clients to go and find the office of an ATM company. But we definitely had clients coming into the office and asking questions, and we never turned them away. We never said like don't come here. Like we never. So in
Yeah.
our very small, we would welcome people in, and we'd really show them things on computers, and we'd really explain things. So we realized that we would do well with a space where we could really educate people. And so CryptoWhile was born out of that need for us and our clients. And our goal is to kind of be the front runner in the Bahamas in terms of all of the different stakeholders in the space. So we have a co-working space. We started off with education, and I'll be very honest. We need to build back up to it because my other hats, I think, pulled me away from really instilling that in CryptoWhile in its formative time. And so that's taken a back seat. But I promise to really jump back into that because it's needed. But we created a space for people to just walk through the door, and literally that happens. And somehow it's been very safe so far, and
Yes.
we do have security there all the time.
Yes.
But we literally created a space where people can literally just walk through the door and ask a question. And it happens maybe too much. And then a space where you have people who are trying to be on the cutting edge. We have a couple digital asset companies, or a couple people registered under digital asset regulations, payment service providers in that space. And so it's interesting to see the kind of eclectic financial services bunch that's there. But also, Doctors Hospital is there, which is
Yeah.
our cutting edge hospital. And they, like, just the other day, they had STEM champion Aisha Bowe in the space, talking to them about innovation. So it is an eclectic bunch, but what joins everybody together is their zest for innovation, and we're just glad to be able to be a part of that, be a part of that infrastructure, and then be able to culture that, and then also spit it out to the wider public. And then obviously from the industry side, we always interact with some of these multinational firms that are coming to the Bahamas or looking to come to the Bahamas, startups that are looking at the legislation and they need advice, but they may not have um, all the resources to go to the top law firms. They just want to know a little bit about what can happen. So we are really that hub, that information space for coming to the Bahamas or being in the Bahamas, and being on top of the innovation, whether it's regulatory or otherwise. Yeah.
The work that you guys are doing at Crypto Isle is really pioneering. Um, I have found
Yeah.
that, especially your Wednesday meetups, there has been so many different events and things that you guys host and put on and support that has really driven the marketplace in the Bahamas. And I have to hats off to you and Davinia for your forethought, because I feel like sometimes as founders and sometimes in the Caribbean, we don't have those safe spaces. We don't have those places where we feel like we can really grow and develop. And you guys have created something very unique there at Crypto Isle. So that is amazing that you guys have done that. and
Thank you.
continue to be supportive. Yes, it's an amazing space. If anybody who is visiting the Bahamas and you want to know more about the digital asset space, you can always head down to Crypto Isle, which is on East Bay Street in Nassau. It's a great location, and you won't be sorry by visiting them.
Yeah.
I want to go into this journey that you had. So you created Crypto Isle with Davinia, and then you got moved into the executive role space because you had a stint at one of the major digital asset companies. And I want to follow your journey. How did that come about?
Yeah, I'm still asking some questions about that, but I
Yeah.
think I think, just being at the forefront, right? So I've been in the space since 2017, and then I moved to the Bahamas in 2018, where I hit the ground running. I think in 2018 I was just so ambitious and naive, I guess. But definitely talking to everyone I could possibly talk to about getting some things off the ground. And when I look at things like what me and a crew of guys, I think it was 6 guys and me, were working on, uh, the parts of it that we were working on are still very relevant today. And so
It's always
if
so
they
guys
ever
and
like
one
hear,
girl. I
yeah,
that is such a theme in this business. I find myself in a space with a bunch of guys and me all the time.
yep, yep, yep. But I think what we wanted to see then is it's I'm still on that course, right? Um, And so, like I said, I spoke to as many people as I could. And you have to remember that Dare didn't exist then.
Right.
Dare, I think the, the only thing that was remotely close was the fact that the government at the time announced wanting to build a tech hub in Grand Bahama, and that's actually
Yes.
what drove me to come home. I said, "Look, if this is going to be started, I'm going to be a part of it." Um, and so that was the only thing going on. And then in 2019, I think they put out the consultative paper or consultation paper for Dare, which was interesting as well. And then and so I've been tapping into the community since then, because there were a couple groups that would put together Brian Jones, Stefan Delaveau. I even remember John B.A. Chalapan,
Yes.
really saying like, here's what's going on and this is what's important here. Um, and others, obviously. There were a lot of, I think, of course, Marvin Colby. There's no way I could
Yes.
not mention Marvin.
Yes.
Um, who we all sat to a table and we talked about like why this matters, first of all, what we really need to put here and what matters here. So I think doing those things and then Island Bit, and that being a big deal because we did a lot of marketing, and then it was so short lived but so loud that I
Yeah.
think and then also after it was like shut down, we and I don't know if I totally agreed with this in the beginning, but we just left the ATMs in place. And I think we even left them on. Like, people were not able to use them, but I think we even left them on because it was just like, I don't know if it was a real thought that we were gonna kind of push back or anything like that. I don't think that was something we wanted to find our way to make it real and make it happen. But a little bit of rebellion in there by leaving the ATMs around. But doing that and being loud about that, and then all of a sudden popping up with this big thing called Crypto Island. I
Crypto
don't know
art.
if you remember around that time there was a lot. Well, actually, after I'm going to call it a scam, and maybe that's not,
Yep.
right to do, but
Yep.
called Crypto Island.
Yep.
And it rubbed, it was a little weird, that
Yep.
we are just about to jump in and market this thing called Crypto Island in the Bahamas. And then there's this big international, I guess, almost meme coin, or maybe even, some altcoin that's talking about Crypto
There is
Island
a
in the Bahamas.
whole podcast about her. Um, that one coin, it was called. And it is a series, like
Oh,
it
right,
became such
right.
an international thing. They created a whole podcast to follow her. And
Yeah.
you guys did launch like right after that went. But
But there's a
the
whole Netflix thing
tangibleness,
about it as well.
yeah, it was. But the tangibleness of what you did was that you guys came out and you had a space, and that really solidified what crypto R was. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you can go into that that experience that you had with Island Bit, where you had to shut down, like what was that like? I know that when we go on these entrepreneurship journeys, it's always some ups and downs, and life gets lifing, and then
Right.
things happen, and so you had to obviously pivot. So what was that like?
You know, it was it was 5 months of the best times and the worst times, and the best times of it, looking back, that are most impactful to today are the learnings by far. Um, Sorry, my dog is looking for love, so
Don't worry. Bring
it's
Puppy in the
it,
show. Come, Puppy. We love
oh,
puppies.
he's definitely not gonna be joining the show. He needs a groom, and um, yeah, but Island
Mhm.
Bet. So the 5 months. So we were open from. Oh, actually, I said April. No, we were set up and ready to go. But we didn't launch until I think the date was June 29th. So it was June, July, August, September, October, November. I'm saying 5 months, but it was probably a little bit more than 5 months.
Mhm.
Anyway, bless you, dog. Um, so the learnings there, the emotions, the journey. I'll tell you, when we were trying to open up, we spoke to the regulators, and when we spoke to the regulators, we were given not the experience that a lot of people talk about when they get the regulators. It was, sorry about that. It was, what are you guys trying to do? Okay, we get it. And from the Securities Commission side, it was like, we don't regulate this. So, move forward. But there is the DARE Act that's coming into play. And when it does come into play, you have to get registered. Fine. On the central bank side, it was, a little bit more interesting. And that's where the learning experience came through. Because, when you have not been through the ringer of regulation, um, you tend to think that it's just fill out this form and hope for the best.
Right.
Um,
So
but
much more.
it's so much more, right? And so we moved forward. Needless to say, a lot of people say, you go, you do things and you ask for forgiveness. Like, we didn't want to
Yes.
do that. We wanted to do it the right way, and we went through those channels. And then a couple months later, it was just like, oops, yeah, you guys can't do this. So that was a big thing, like, where it's just like, okay, well, we've invested all this time, we've invested all of this money, the business is doing well. This business is about to break even, in just a couple months. And it was gut wrenching, but now, when I look back on all the things we learned from the regulatory side, I think that's what got me into the position, for the multinational corporations. So, uh, I think and that's what allows me to educate other people on what's okay in the Bahamas, and why you can't easily purchase cryptocurrency, or why the banks block cards, because it was basically me being thrown into the regulatory side of it when I didn't even know how much of how much of our rules in the jurisdiction really impacted the simple purchase of cryptocurrency, right? So I think I think the island bit journey, though it was short lived, it taught me it taught me like so much, and not just from the regulatory side. Um, I do remember creating my own token. So I learned that at Island Bit,
Hmm.
and I did it
Interesting.
not not on testnet, but on mainnet. I just went straight into mainnet, just testing this token, because I wanted to see how market pairs worked. Right? You can. I'm not from a finance background, right? I wanted to see how things were impacted, and just going through that simple exercise, because we wanted to do a lot more than the ATMs. Just going through that simple exercise, because we had now the flexibility, because our first business was doing well. um, Going through that exercise taught me a lot about market metrics, right?
Mm.
And it also ignited like a huge fire for me. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is how this works. And then I go down that rabbit hole, And then you start to learn, I think one of the first things we learned with our first ATM purchase was, liquidity on the back end. So all of
Mhm.
these different aspects, I the questions I have about how I moved into that executive role is, did anybody really know if I had that knowledge or not, right? Because it's not on my
Mm.
resume. You don't write, I created a pair on a DEX, or I did this, or I did that. I think you just look
Mhm.
at it and you say, okay, well, she had an ATM company. Like, she
Mhm.
has to know a bit about compliance, which I did and I learned, and it was all based on PSP legislation. um, or she must understand transaction monitoring, which definitely, but it was not mandatory on the back end of the ATMs at the time. But I definitely love to play around with it. So Island Bit really grandfathered me into those executive positions. But the questions I have is, how did they know? And the truth is, when you're in a small place and you're in such a niche and specialized field, um, if somebody really wants something, you have to determine how you go about getting it. And I think what it was I may have been the best choice. Um, and I'll say, like, and we're just saying multinational, but I mean, it was OKX. I was their Bahamas CEO, and I remember when I met with them the first time, I just kind of went, okay, we're in the middle of construction. We are just doing a lot of the interior design here. And I really want to learn more about they had not mentioned that they wanted me to come on board. They were just they just had me consulting with them, helping them to get to know the Bahamian landscape. And my whole thing was, there's a small fact about OKX. OKX is one of the first exchanges that I ever used. I was living in China at the time. They were recently, I think they had just left China,
Mm.
and I saw the evolution. I joined OKX I got contacted by OKX just as they changed their branding. So when I got introduced to OKX, they still had the logo and the OKEX, which I used back in 2017 and 2018 when I was living in China. So it was like a full circle thing to see this company come and talk to me. And then they changed their marketing. And Felix Stubbs once said to me, he asked me a very weird question about marketing once. I was like, well, why do you want to know that? And he said, marketing always tells you where the company is going, because it's
That's
around the
right.
last step before they move there, right? I'll always
That's
hold
right.
on to that nugget from Felix. If you're launching a company, when you see the marketing go out, that's when you're about to start. If you're
Mhm.
revamping a company, when you see the marketing change, that's when things are about to go wild. So I decided to pay attention. I decided to learn more about the exchanges themselves, because Island Bit is exchange, a different format of it. But I just decided, okay, something's going on here, and I have a lot to learn. And so for about 2 months, I dug into everything on the back end of an exchange, from risk management to compliance to liquidity management to what audit looks like, the regulations and legislation, and not just the Bahamian ones. And I went in, like, when I say I went in, like, I went in for about 2 months. And so when OKX finally did approach me, it was just like a no-brainer. And also, I knew it would put me in a position to help Crypto Isle a bit more down the line. And so,
I
and
love
so,
that. I love that
yeah,
you really delve deep into the space before you even knew that you were going into the space. And sometimes things that we do, we don't know where it's going to lead us, but it's always a plan. There's always a plan in place, and then it just puts you in a position. And look, CEO. I mean, and you were
yeah,
one of the youngest CEOs in the space. And I think that you are, like I said, a trailblazer, and you were prepared and ready. And so that journey must have been an experience in itself, working with a Chinese company, working with a new company coming into the Bahamas, knowing that this was new legislation as well. Everybody has been on that serious wavelength when it comes to
Yeah.
transition. So when you in the organization and you're working with the Securities Commission, and tell us more about that experience and what you found and how you grew from going there and then moving into your own founding journey.
Yeah. Um, I am definitely a perfectionist.
Mm.
Or I actually don't know if I'm a perfectionist. I don't think I'm a perfectionist. I don't like to say that. I've been told by people very close to me, or one or two people who are very close to me, that I am. But I think what it is I need to see the whole journey, to know where we're really going, to understand what parts are really impactful and making sure we get to the next step and get to the end.
Mm.
So, um, so I nitpick on those things that are really, really important. And if I don't see them, then I want to get it done, and I want to see that done, because otherwise that journey will not uh, be as linear as I want it to be. It's never linear, but at least you can better determine your next step when you have certain things in place. So I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but I definitely like to have some ducks in a row. Yeah, we had a great team of external professionals, who we needed to rely on. And I learned so much from those people, way more than I think maybe internally. And maybe that was because of how I was directed. I was directed to deal with what the company is doing and make sure that the regulatory side of it was great. And then later on, then I started dealing with more of the business side of it. But um, yeah, sorry, someone, give me one second and edit this out. 1 second.
Yes, go ahead. Okay, we're
I'm
gonna
so
pick up.
sorry about that.
That's fine. We could edit this, but I'm gonna pick
Yeah,
up on that building a team. So,
sure.
Jillian, you are in the midst, as you said, building a team at the moment, and it's really important when you're building a team to build a diverse team. How have you found that journey? How have you found creating this team that you're building now for your new venture that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, it has been so difficult. Um, it's been difficult because now I have this global view of things. I have a global network of people, um, and that includes Bahamians who moved abroad to get things done. And I am dispositioned to really get it done here in the Bahamas, right? I left China and I said I was going to come to the Bahamas and help here. And so I have a tough time, like, looking at the alternative and saying, okay, that might be a bit easier, especially when in my mind it's just like I know the Bahamas so well from a market standpoint, from a regulatory standpoint. It's also it's a challenge a bit for me to say, okay, I know the Bahamas so well, so I'm going to leave the Bahamas and go into a different market. That gets
Yeah,
scary for me.
yeah.
So it's like, am I really settling and not going for that challenge, or am I being strong and patriotic and keeping on this challenge, right? But the challenge here, it, right now, that I'm facing is the team, to be honest. And
Mm.
I want to talk about some of those variables that I think are contributing to it, right? And so I've actually been looking for a team since October, and it's March, right?
Wow.
Um, I thought I've got a great business model. I can find all the parts of the tech stack. I've got it in my head. I know how everything's going to work. And then I'm just like, who's going to put this together? I don't code. I've never coded in my life. I mean, I tried once. I did like 2 chapters of some online program. I don't know. But who's going to put this tech stack together in the right way? Who's
That's
going
a
to vet
real
it out?
issue.
Yeah, who's going to vet it out and say, yeah, Jill, that's not the best thing. Now, there are a couple people who I think can do it. But when I talk to like trusted partners or advisors or whoever else, they're just like, oh yeah, I have a team here, I have a team in Argentina, I have a team in Canada. And I think it is unrealistic for me to find tech builders in the Bahamas. And
Mm.
this is one thing, right? And so you go and you look at some of the you look at Y Combinator, you look in Startup School and all of these other accelerators, and you say to yourself, okay, they have a co-founder matching, I'm going to go for it. But it's just so like far away to really think that that's really going to help you. So you kind of go through it and you're flipping through profiles on your phone and you find some great people, but you're really like, what I'm building is for the Bahamas, it's for the Caribbean, it's very, very nuanced. um, and it can do very, very well, but this person is never going to get it the way I get it. This person is never going to be that passionate, and which is probably not true. But you want to find people who can actually on a whim innately say, you know what, this won't work,
Mm-hmm.
or say, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I know who to talk to, or I
Yeah.
know how to ask the market, right? And so having a co-founder, and the tech people, it's difficult. But what I have found, and I've not brought anyone on, I haven't brought anyone on officially yet. I'm being very methodical about it again. But I have found people who know the space conceptually and have offered a lot of advice, from the regulatory side. From it's a finance thing, from the finance side, um, and from other parts that really, really matter to the beginning of the project. And so I've found these people and I've said, okay, like when things are a lot more solid, meaning a legal review because it's disruptive technology, and that's Jillian's brand. Um, when I say to them, I want you on the project, I just don't know in what capacity yet. Like right now in my mind, everyone is an advisor. Nobody is operational yet. I have about two people in mind for operations, but again, this is a tech company and I have nobody in mind for tech. And so building the team is difficult. But one important thing that I want to say is I'm very, very, very grateful for this journey. And from the beginning, I've been very, very deliberate about documenting the pain points of my journey so that
Mm.
I can instill them in CryptoIsle. Because if what I'm doing is innovative and it's the next realm for the Bahamas, every single problem that I have, somebody else is going to come upon that problem. And also, every single problem that I have, it means there's a market to solve that problem. And so I want to help the Bahamians,
Certainly.
like, really, really take the opportunity to individually and personally understand how they can contribute to filling that gap. Whether you're a product manager, whether you do market analysis, like those are two places where I'm just like, this does not exist in the Bahamas. Our market analysis stuff, it's
Lacking.
not where it needs to
Lacking.
be for startups, but that's
Yeah.
right. You can
Right.
try to do a focus group, you can try to do a survey, you could try to interview people, but people just don't want to talk so much because we all know each other. We
Yeah.
all are in competition, or
Small,
we all don't.
small
Yeah,
orientated location. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you
right.
you're doing a lot, and it seems that you're trying to really build something great and include Bahamians. And sometimes there are times when we may not be able to find what we're looking for right here, but it may be somewhere else in the Caribbean that you might be able to touch and feel that a co-founder role or that development side. And I know that is a journey as well. So I mean, I really want to hear about your future. What do you really feel like the future holds and your aspirations for this venture that you're on right now? And where do you really see it going? And how do you plan on really achieving those goals that you have?
Yeah. Um, so when I decided to move back home and switch my whole career prospects, I had I had an epiphany while standing over a kitchen sink at my friend's place. Um, it's so weird, like because his kitchen setup is so weird. Like I don't know why every time I look at this, I go like weird kitchens are great for me. Like it's strange, but I had this epiphany where I was just like, okay, whatever I do in the Bahamas, I'm going to focus on four things: the efficient movement of people, things, money, and information, because those are the things that are going to drive our economy, right? And every time I look at those things, I go, we don't have enough people to really drive sustainable business. And in the last 2 years, and yeah, in the last 2 years, I really started to think of business models that are cyclic. And so it doesn't matter how many people we have. It just matters if the people are consistently driving that cycle. Um, and so everything I've thought of impacts the Bahamas in a way that it makes things faster or cheaper, more efficient. Whether it's the trends, the movement of money or things, which has been my focus, or information, which is like a new thing that has been added on to my focus in the weirdest way, but the most amazing way. Um, so when I look at my future, it's about changing the whole mindset of business to be able to approach a small community and still be sustainable. And that requires disruptive technology, hands down, and or disruptive business models. But that those disruptive business models all hinge on technology. And so my thought is that I will have the edge if I crack that. And I think I've done that. And that's why I've been so stealth on what I'm doing, right? But I think I've cracked that code of using technology to sustain a different type of business model that will benefit the small group of people and and can be replicated for other groups of people as well. And so that's kind of the direction that I see myself going in, and I'm very deliberate about it, and hasn't changed since 2018. So I hope that answers your question in my very stealth way of saying
You
what I'm
start
doing. You'll see it
absolutely.
soon.
And Jillian, you know what you want, and that is awesome. And you seem to have a grasp on exactly what is going to be required to be um, successful in what you're doing. And so I'm looking forward to knowing all about this project when you're ready to launch it. Please come back on the show, talk about it so that we can support it. But it has been an amazing interview. You are amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. We totally appreciate you coming on the show. And even though we know I've been chasing you for a while, so I'm so glad that you got to make it. But
Yeah,
hey,
sorry about that, but hey, I'm
no,
here.
that's all right. You're a busy lady, but you know what? You are inspiring so many more of us to do it. And hats off to you and what you're doing. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
being here. And
thank you,
again, when
Simone.
I
Yeah,
listen, this is a space for us to talk and to really learn. And you've done a masterful um, interview today. So thank you so much. And
yeah.
we look forward to hearing from you more.
Yay. Thank you, Simone. And of course, I always support all the wonderful things you do. So thank you and take care.
Take care. And that was another episode of Tech Hour. I am your host, Simone Smith Bean. And as always, be great.
Strong enough to take the pain.